This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, saving your day from boredom with the best podcasting entertainment.
Welcome to the Superfans Podcast. I am your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, this is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
This is pretty much just the fast break intro, but we just said one different thing, and I left off the beginning part of it. Go Bears. Today, we have a fun podcast for you. We're going to be talking about the beloved Chicago Bears, and we'll also throw in a Cubs topic as well. We'll be doing a Bears-Packers preview to start off the podcast. Then we'll jump into some Cubs, break it up a little bit, talk about their rotation going into the playoffs. First, they got to make it, obviously, but they're on a 4-game win streak as of recording this podcast. They just beat up on the Mets, won 3 games there, and then just beat the Brewers 7-1 today. And then we'll go back to the Bears and talk about their wide receiver position. Anthony Miller's currently banged up. What should we expect from Allen Robinson? I was going to call him Alice Robinson. Allen Robinson. What should we look from these rookies as well? Technically, Javon Williams, although he was on the team last year, and a guy like Riley Ridley. So we'll talk about that squad. And before we jump into all that, boys, do want to encourage the people who are listening to check out patreon.com/mostofitpodcast if you want to help us out and support us. Right now we are doing without a camera because we forgot some bits back at Ricky's house, but we've been having issues with the battery, the camera. So if you do want to help us out, Patreon, that is the camera. The lens is a part of the camera.
I bought a new battery.
Oh, nice.
So we've got the battery.
There we go.
Just waiting on the lens.
Anyways, though, if you do want to help us out with some of the expenses of doing these podcasts, you can check out patreon.com/mostofitpodcast, and we'd greatly appreciate the support there. But boys, let's jump into the Bears-Packers preview. Starting off the NFL season, the unusual way, at least for the NFL. Typically, it is the matchup between the Super Bowl teams. It should have been, or the AFC Championship teams or the NFC Championship teams. Usually be like Patriots Chiefs or Rams Saints or Rams Patriots. But they went away from that because it is the 100th anniversary of the NFL and the 100th anniversary for the Bears. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be the 199th meeting between the Bears and the Packers this year. And they're going to start that off September 5th. So let's jump in. We'll talk about it. Obviously, last year, these two teams, they went 1-1. They started off playing each other week 1 in Matt Nagy's debut on Sunday Night Football. Extremely close game in that first one. Came down to Aaron Rodgers getting injured, then coming back and hitting Randall Cobb on a slant route he took to the house. And then they came back. I think it was week 15. I don't have my notes up in front of me, but I think it was week 15 they came back to Soldier Field, and the Bears handed them their asses, won 24-17, and clinched the division for the first time in a very long time. At home, it was a great feeling. Dave, I'll go to you for as the Bears fans here. Obviously, this is a great last season that the Bears had, 12-4, and this is a huge game, probably the biggest game since that that Eagles game, obviously in the playoffs. But this is probably the biggest regular season game in a while, just because you have that building up of coming off a great season. This is the time that you need to capitalize this. This is probably the best Super Bowl hopes that we've had probably since 2006, maybe even before then. This team is absolutely loaded, and now you have to go in up against the division rival, the team that has beaten you 2 more times than you ever have in their series. You could tie it up this year if you go 2-0. This is the marquee rivalry in the NFL. This is probably the biggest game in a long time for the Bears. What are you expecting?
I mean, first up, I just have to open up with a fuck the pack. Like, that's obligatory.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Got to get that out of the way. No, I mean, this is day one. Let's see who the biggest dog is in the division. Like, I'm excited because every analyst out there right now, outside of Chicago's, Aaron Rodgers has got a better coaching staff around him. He's going to have better pieces. He's going to be healthy this year, and it's all Packers winning. And I'm like, you guys didn't watch much last year, did you? Like, had we not had Khalil Mack on absolutely zero training before that season, like, if that man had any cardio, we would have won game 1. And he did everything for us in that first half. We tried to give him the fucking MVP trophy, like, right then and there.
See, you could make the argument, too, that even if Roquan Smith had a full training camp, if he wasn't holding out, he could have been, they could have swung the game as well. But then you also have to go on the Packers side. If they had Rodgers for the full game, would it even been that close?
But if we break Rodgers again, I mean, there is that. Like,
the king might be dead.
I'm sorry. Bears defenses and Packer quarterbacks, it works out. And, we keep getting our asses kicked. But up until recently, we retired Brett Favre.
We did, but he was a Viking at that time.
He was, to be fair, but ex-Packer quarterback. well worth it.
We probably retired Deshaun Kaiser after that first time that he filled in for Aaron Rodgers.
It's just there's a rivalry, there's an intensity there, but I just love the fact that like out the gates we get this premier matchup, and I honestly do think this matchup is what we're going to look at the top of the NFC North. Throughout the entire year, we're going to be watching these two teams battle back and forth. No disrespect to your Vikings, Ricky, or to the Detroit Lions, but
no, fuck the Lions.
At the end of the day, it really is going to come down to how hard can Aaron Rodgers carry versus this Bears defense.
Vikings deserve some respect, right? Like I don't hate the Vikings. I don't like them, but I think I respect the Vikings just because they've always been a very solid team. They've never been great because obviously they've never won a Super Bowl. But
close.
We've been close a lot of times. But with that, I still respect them.
Yeah.
I hate the Green Bay Packers, but they have had our number at least through my lifetime. So it's
absolutely.
like it's something that you cannot be afraid with them. The Lions, absolutely fuck them. Just a horrible franchise, garbage team. But Ricky, we'll go to you since you are the outsider. Since you're at the Bears, team. You're even playing a YouTube video while we're recording this podcast.
I was pulling up
ESPN.
Aaron Jones, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Fuck the Packers.
Wow.
Aaron Jones.
Wow, come on. That's my fantasy running back right there.
He'll be injured then, so it doesn't matter, right?
But since I was going to you, I was going to say, since you aren't the Bears fans, you could probably give us a less of a biased opinion about the Packers. But you start off by saying fuck the Packers.
Well, I mean,
what do you think about Matt LaFleur and what do you think about Aaron Rodgers and how those two can coexist? And if they do coexist, what is the top end for this Packer team?
So with Matt LaFleur, my biggest question has been the whole time of what is this Packer offense going to look like? Is Matt LaFleur actually going to have I don't want to say have a say, but is he going to have a big imprint on what goes on game day? Like, of course, planning, he's the coach. He's going to have to set the troops up into what he wants to do. But let's be honest, it's Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers is out there and he sees something and you're like, hey, Aaron, do this. Aaron's going to say, nah, brah, I'm good. I'm going to do this. And the thing I look at is the weapons that Green Bay has, kind of a yin and yang of the wide receiver side. It's really Devonta Adams, and then I'm not scared of anything after that. Like, they don't have Randall Cobb this year, who had, the third most targets on that team? Fourth most targets on that team.
Now he's a Cowboy.
Jimmy Graham, I'm not scared of, even though he had 89 targets last year. They've got Mercedes Lewis as well to kind of help out because Jimmy Graham has not really been the Jimmy Graham that we're used to. That's kind of the one side of like, hey, maybe the Bears can do something against that wide receiver core. But the big question is, Aaron Jones will play in this game, and he didn't play in that first game that you guys played in Lambeau last year.
But he did play in that Soldier Field game, and that obviously wasn't too big of a factor. But that was after they fired McCarthy, so obviously that could play into things as well.
Only had 4 carries in that game too.
Yeah, to go to the wide receiving core, at least for Green Bay first.
Did he get hurt in that game?
Jones? He might have.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I remember he did get hurt last year because he was on my fantasy team last year as well.
The only thing I remember from that game was it gave me a wallpaper of Aaron Rodgers being torn down by Khalil Mack, and it was like a Renaissance photo. It was absolutely gorgeous.
Got it.
But with the Packer wide receiving core, I know you're saying that obviously Adams is a complete stud.
I am correct.
Aaron Jones left the game in the first quarter with a knee injury.
Yeah, so that was it.
Technically, they didn't even have him for both games.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we'll get to Jones. But at least going to the wide receiving core, I know you brought up that you're not really scared of anyone behind Devonta Adams, but even then, this Packer team has always found guys. I mean, Randall Cobb was a second-round pick, I believe, but even then, he was coming from Kentucky. It wasn't like he was a well-known guy. Jordy Nelson, obviously, that he was a monster for them, and he was pretty much an unknown. You look at Greg Jennings, Donald Driver. They've always been able to find guys throughout their tenure.
Great quarterbacks make wide receivers better, and that's all it is. I mean, you're disrespecting the Geronimo Allison. You're disrespecting Equanimeous St. Brown.
Don't put that
as well.
I'm not saying I'm disrespecting Gmo. Gmo's my boy, former Illini.
I know.
It's just I don't expect these guys. I'm not afraid of coming in, and the one guy I feel like needs to put a foot in my mouth because there's been a few times where guys have put my own foot in my mouth is Valdes-Scantling. Like he is going to be the number 2. He's got to play like the number 2, especially when teams if I'm the Bears, I just say, you know what? we'll just like sometimes we'll go 1v1, but it's like, you know what? If anything, I'll shade over to Devonta Adams.
Cheat
Scalding or Scantling beat me. Like we're just gonna shadow Adams and make you beat us.
I still think too, the biggest issue at least that I see with this Bears defense is that secondary. Obviously, Eddie Jackson is an all-pro stud, but he did go out last year with injury issues. He wasn't fully healthy at the end of the year, so that could still be, what is his full health? He obviously hasn't been declared injured yet, but you wonder what he'll be like in his first full game back. And then you look at Clinton-Dix. Hey, revenge game, possibly. You also have Adrian Amos, who's playing for on the other end for a revenge game for the Packers. But you also look at Clinton-Dix, and he came out on the PUP list for the Bears. He wasn't able to practice right away. He got injured early on before training camp started. So you wonder what he can do after his OTA injury. Is he fully healthy? What can he add to this secondary? Can he be up to the level of Adrian Amos last year, or can he even surpass it? Like you wonder what those two are going to be like back there. They both were former Alabama guys, being Clinton-Dix and Eddie Jackson. But even then, you look at the cornerbacks. Kyle Fuller, fantastic player last year, was a Pro Bowler, and Prince Amukamara is on a contract year, and he looks absolutely primed and ready to do exactly what he did last year, and he was great.
Yep.
But you lose Bryce Callahan, and outside of that, it's a pretty young to unproven secondary, and you do have Buster Screen out there, but I'm not a huge fan of Buster Screen. I don't know what this secondary can do, and yes, while they might not have marquee names outside of Devonta Adams, they do have guys that have been there before. Mercedes Lewis has been a 10-year-plus pro with Jacksonville. Jimmy Graham has been one of the best tight ends in the league before. He just needs to get open, and that's the same thing with Equanimeous St. Brown, kid out of Notre Dame. That kid was absolutely blazing fast, super tall, and he's got a great quarterback to throw to him. So I think if the Packers are going to beat the Bears on that Thursday night game, it's not really going to be through Aaron Jones, because you look at this Bears front seven, they're going to stop everything. You have Khalil Mack, you have Leonard Floyd, you have Akeem Hicks, you have Danny Trevathan, you have Roquan Smith, you have guys that can come in off the bench like Aaron Lynch as well, that can create havoc in that backfield. But it's the secondary that I'm worried most about, because if Rodgers is able to just push Eddie Jackson to one side of the field, that immediately is going to leave some of these unproven or worse corners that aren't a Kyle Fuller to go up against Aaron Rodgers, and he could throw guys open. So I do think if there's a way for the Packers to beat him, it's LaFleur and scheming these wide receivers open, and we obviously know what Rodgers can do with his arm.
Well, and that's why, to me, the thing I think of is, first off, it's like, yes, the secondary is a question for the Bears, but let's be honest. We know what the bread and butter is. That pass rush.
That front seven.
You get to Aaron Rodgers, you will win the game. And for me...
But what is Aaron Rodgers so good at? He's good at extending plays. He's good at moving around in the pocket. So if he's fully healthy and they give him enough time, or at least enough vision to at least see the pass rush coming, and he's able to escape it, he'll be able to find guys open. I'm pretty sure that happened with the Cobb thing too. Didn't he roll out and then find Cobb? I might be misremembering that, but he does that every single time to us, it seems. Just get out of the pocket and then find somebody open. It might have been on the Jordy Nelson pass in Soldier Field like 2 years ago. But he constantly does that. So while they do have a great pass rush and they're able to bring 4 all-pro guys, I just wonder, are they going to get to him because he is one of these prime elite QBs?
And that's why, to me, I think of two things. Number one, on the Packer side, they named Lane Taylor the starter at left guard, where it's like, okay, on that left side of the line, more of that blind side, hey, we're going to go with the veteran over the rookie in Jenkins, who played very well this preseason. So it's kind of like maybe LaFleur tipping his hand, where it's like, is Taylor the best one, or is it just, hey, you've seen the Bears twice last year. This rookie has not. That's number one. How's the left side of that line going to hold up? Number two is, in preseason, you're not going to show your hand, obviously. What's this defense blitzing-wise going to look fully under Chuck Pagano, moving away from Vic Fangio? Because that's one thing that Vic Fangio was great at, is disguising his blitzes to where you really didn't. You knew that it was coming. You didn't know how it was going to come at you.
Fangio did a big thing too of he would always rush 4, but it wouldn't be the 4 that you'd be expecting.
Exactly.
So, and Pagano, or as my guy Dave Oster likes to call him, Chucky Pagano. Pagano or Chucky, he does like to be aggressive, and that might play to their benefits, at least to getting to Rodgers quicker, and maybe not letting him get his legs underneath him and getting a full head of steam and being able to get out of the pocket. Maybe you're able to trip him up sooner. But I just think, and you've seen so many games between the Bears and the Packers, and it's just you need 3 plays. That's all you need, and Aaron Rodgers can score you a touchdown. And that's what I'm worried about when it comes down to this is, we'll get to the offense and Green Bay's defense probably coming up next, but I just worry that you have 12 on the other side of the field, and I don't care who his offensive coordinator is. He is still probably the second most talented QB in the league, or number 1. If you wanted to say he's number 1, I'm not going to blame you. Pat Mahomes was just Jesus Christ last year. But you have 12 on the other side, and he could just blow up a game in 3 straight drives just by finding Skelding or Equinemius St. Brown or Mercedes Lewis or it was Ty Montgomery or Aaron Jones out of the backfield. He just needs to find one guy, and it could blow up the whole entire game. So, or Dexter Williams, I think, is their second back.
And it's momentum with him, too. Yeah. He completes one pass, and that offense gets in motion, and you just go into, fuck mode.
Especially when it goes into that no huddle, and
as
he's
a
just
Bears
like, let's
fan,
go.
The bottom of the stomach just starts to go, this is not going to end well. This is not going to end well. And that's the thing, is with this first game, I feel like we're almost setting ourselves up similar to last year where we didn't play basically any preseason. Our starters got, all rest. It was only practice reps, really. So do you think there's going to be any issues when it comes to switching up coverage or anything? If he gets us on the field and gets us running, like I've got a little bit of fear about that because, like you said, we've got inexperience in the secondary depth, and if we have to go nickel out there, like we're going to be in trouble.
I'm worried about nickel just because of the lack of experience, because Callahan was so important to this team. Yeah. Now he's in Denver. I do worry about that problem. However, I'm not worried about the lack of reps in preseason or anything like that.
Okay.
We saw what this team did last year, and it was the same exact routine, and they were absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And, we talked about what the 2 things were wrong
Amos
with.
Is a big...
No, but we talked about what the 2 wrong things were with this team last year in that first game. It was that Khalil Mack wasn't fully ready, and Roquan Smith wasn't ready. But those 2 guys weren't in training camp. True. Everyone else was fine. So I'm not worried about that part. And yes, you bring up the Adrian Amos part.
Just a leader on the defense. I know he's not the guy.
But that's the thing is, I think Eddie Jackson probably is the guy on the secondary. Amukamara is a veteran. Kyle Fuller is probably the most talented corner out of those guys. I think the leadership is still going to be there. I'm not worried about that. And even then, Clinton Dix, dude's going to be pissed off that they didn't want to pay him and that they paid a different dude.
Yeah.
To be honest. So I think that might make up. I'm not worried about the lack of Amos.
Okay.
The biggest thing is I'm just worried about the nickel
He's
part.
going to spread us out and pick us apart. That's like my worst nightmares. It's as soon as he gets one pass out there and it goes through, it just, that momentum starts creeping on you. And then, like Ricky said, when they go no huddle, pace of play picks up. But how's our secondary going to react to that?
And that's absolutely fair.
Yeah.
And I think so. The only thing that I would say to that, though, is if they do start running those no huddles, that's when I think Pagano will bring the blitz and try to just make sure those guys, and maybe again, this is going back to the aggressive style of his defense.
Yeah.
Obviously you're going to let out, less guys to cover. You might play some cover 0 at that point, but you're going to make Rodgers try to make a mistake, or you're just trying to get Rodgers and stop that momentum. And you get 15-yard sack right there, and that can kill that momentum right away. So I do think it's just going to be a chess match here. And I think the biggest part now, Ricky, is I'm not saying that this team, the Packers can't put up 28 or 31 against this Bears defense. Absolutely possible. But I do think that it's going to be a hard-fought game every single drive. I don't think we're going to see too many drives. We might see one where, it's hot knife meets butter with Aaron Rodgers versus this defense. I don't think we're going to see anything too crazy like that. I don't think it's going to be Packers blowing out the Bears. I do think it's going to be a chess match between this offense and defense. But going to the other side of the ball for the Chicago Bears, this Bears offense. Obviously, the biggest thing is Mitch Trubisky and his growth. And we talked about this last week. Where does he kind of rank? What are you looking for with this offense? Biggest thing that I'm looking at is David Montgomery, running back out of Iowa State. What are you expecting his load to be like in this first preseason game? Because this Packers defense run by Mike Pettin looks to be pretty solid. Got a good secondary, got a good front line, added Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith in free agency. This team seems to be built fairly decent defensively. How is Matt Nagy going to have to attack them? And do you think that David Montgomery is going to be a big part of that?
Well, it's going to be, to me, I'm interested to see how run DMC works in general, where not just Montgomery, also Mike Davis, also Tariq Cohen, how this three-headed back behind Mitch Trubisky works, because the good this year is you don't have the excuse of, well, Mitch and Nagy are new. Like, Mitch is new to the system. No, Mitch has been in the system. You don't expect him to have hiccups like maybe you would have saw last year, week one. But in this one, it's like David Montgomery, the one thing I want to see him do, catch balls out of the backfield. Catch balls out of the backfield and then go. Exactly what he did in college, which was one of the reasons why I thought he was going to be drafted higher than most backs, because he can run and catch the ball. My big question, maybe you guys can answer this as the real Bears fans, because I'm the Viking fan.
Sure.
Last year, Howard was your main guy. He was the guy where it's like, okay, if we're running between the tackles, we're giving it to Howard. Is that Mike Davis? Is he just the if de facto, or is it a mixture of these guys are going to be that running back?
Mike Davis, he's going to be
afterthought.
I think is probably just going to be used.
You're saying it's Cohen, Montgomery, and then
I think
after.
Davis is probably going to use, maybe he gets 10 touches. Maybe, and it's probably even being...
That seems too high.
Meaning receptions too?
Yeah, receptions too. I think Cohen isn't going to be strictly coming out of the backfield. I would not be shocked if they used him flexed out and on the right side or left side. I definitely see them using him as a receiving option. Yeah. And you say it might be too high for Davis, but you look back at last year and maybe it was just because they did feel so limited with Howard, but how many times did we see Benny Cunningham out there or Tyquan Mazzell? Like, we saw those guys be used a decent amount, and if they're paying Mike Davis what they are, I think they're going to use him. But I think the guy between the tackles, I think the three down back for them is going to be Montgomery, and that's why I asked about him about you, because this kid, what I saw from that first game, holy fucking shit, does he look like a stud? This kid played 4 years at Iowa State, was an absolute workhorse. I don't think he fumbled much out there, or maybe I think he fumbled probably a lot, or he might have fumbled a lot.
He didn't fumble much. He fumbled a lot.
Well, no, he might, like, my thing is like
somewhere in between.
My thing is like his fumble percentage might be low. It just, he might have had like 5 fumbles because he touched the ball like 500 times. Like he is an absolute NFL back, and he might not have Alvin Kamara's speed or Christian McCaffrey's hands, but he does have great vision, and he just has that, I think, running back instinct.
Yeah.
And I would not be shocked if we see him carry the ball 17 times this game, and I wouldn't be shocked if we did see him and Cohen out on the field in a lot of sets, and maybe not, handing the ball off to Cohen. They did try to run the ball with Cohen in between the tackles a lot last year.
Yeah.
It wasn't crazy effective, but I don't think it really had to do with the size. I just don't think, it would, like, whenever they brought him in, I didn't feel they used him well enough, Cohen. And I think now maybe with Montgomery, it will be hard to let less play, Howard's in, they're going to run the ball.
Well, yeah, we're not
Cohen
showing our hand anymore when we, decide one running back or the other. It's not a guaranteed pass or guaranteed rush.
They can do either run or catch.
Yeah, I feel like the Cohen up the middle was just purely to see, like, can we catch the defense off guard? Because everyone has scouted us. Everyone knows what we're going to do here. So if we throw a wild card at them like that, it could work out. And you mentioned, using the weapons right. I think that one of the guys out of that backfield group that we're talking about as far as Montgomery being to do everything, Cohen's the interesting piece. He's kind of a wild card, but like even running like Taylor Gabriel in motion in the backfield, like getting some wide receiver action
sweeps
going on. Exactly. That's the shit that I like about this offense. Like, Nagy gets creative, and I look forward to seeing him use the guys with just insane amounts of speed to abuse defenses, whether it's bubble screens, whether it's jet sweeps, whatever the situation is. And like you said, splitting Tariq Cohen, start him in the backfield, split him out wide, see what the defense is doing, see what the coverage looks like. Like, it's just information out there that you're just giving Mitch to arm him better for the situation.
Well, let's talk about that guy, Mitch. All right. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit later on in the podcast about the weapons he has. Tight end looks thin outside of Trey Burton. Even then, Trey Burton wasn't super impactful last year, and obviously wasn't able to play in the playoff game last year due to a very odd injury that just flared up the week of the playoff game. But you look at the weapons that he does have. We talked about, obviously, the running backs. We're going to talk about the wide receivers coming up. Is this game a game that Mitch Trubisky can make the statement where he is going to, like, let's say he has a fantastic game, 300 yards, high completion percentage, doesn't throw a pick, 3 TDs, Bears win by 10, Thursday night, opening game. If Mitch has that type of game, does that seal his fate as the future of the Bears quarterback, like the guy for the Bears at quarterback?
Well,
Can he do that?
I don't think he has. I don't think he has anything to prove here in Chicago.
Really?
It's everywhere else. I mean, there might be some guys like your dad back in the bag where it's like, I don't know, like my dad was like this with Jay Cutler. I don't know about that Jay Cutler guy. Like, I just don't like that Jay Cutler guy. It's like, Dad, they just won last week. Don't care, don't like him, shouldn't be the quarterback. There's always going to be that guy. But the thing I look at is, I feel like most of the people around here like Mitch and aren't having the pitchforks. Here's
That's the thing
though.
is we like Mitch, so we're not going to kill Mitch, right? People didn't like Cutler. People
hated Cutler, like me.
So
they
wanted to kill Cutler.
Yeah.
So even if Cutler had a good game, it was we'll go back on him and kill him.
But that's a Chicago thing too. Like you win, it's like, yeah, you're our guy. You lose, get him out of here. That's just what we do.
But I think what people want to see from Mitch is putting it all together, because we've seen spurts of the fourth quarter of the Eagles game, or a couple of these. The Tampa Bay game was incredible. Even sometimes in the Patriots game, he had a lot of runs that were really nice. If he's able to put it all together, I don't think people would be upset at all if he was our quarterback. But it's just he hasn't been able to put it together.
Right.
If he goes out and shows it on Thursday Night Football, and he puts it all together, do you think that he can be the quarterback for the future of the Chicago Bears? Does he just need one statement game to be like, all right, I am here against the Green Bay Packers in the biggest rivalry, in the biggest game, on the 100th anniversary of the Chicago Bears in Soldier Field after this 12-4 season? We're going to put a statement on it week 1. We're coming out. We're going to blow these fucking guys out of the water. If he does that, do you think he can make a statement and be like, I'm the Bears quarterback, Dave?
Absolutely. And it turns into one of those situations where if he does it and it's not predicated on the defense having 3 takeaways and just like 6 sacks.
Because the win last year in Soldier Field wasn't a Mitch win.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, Mitch up to this point has been the quarterback, but he's been more of a, what was the term we kept referring to? Like,
field general. The game manager.
Game manager. Like, it's you're good enough to be a quarterback and win with an incredible defense.
Just don't fuck up.
What we want to see out of Mitch this year is he's good enough to win a game all on his own. I'm not saying he has to in this situation, because Lord knows we have a defense. But if he could come out here and play a clean game and, like you said, light it up as far as yardage, completions, touchdowns, keep it clean on the interception front, no fumbles, there's no bigger statement game to have in Chicago than to beat the Packers, and to do it in his second year and to do it on his arm or his legs. Like you said, he is deceptively athletic out there. He can pick up first downs. He's a good runner. That is
really deceptive.
It is.
It's just a white guy term.
It really is.
I think he's pretty athletic.
Yep.
I mean, he was just all around athletic.
Dave said
I was making a joke, Sean.
Okay.
If we had the camera on, I'd be like, Dave's a deceptive, and I was just like, really, Dave? We're dropping the deceptive
I gotta
in there?
lean into it. Why not?
The thing I just think of is I think more like, if he comes out and has that kind of a game, Sean, I think back to, this was, from this week? This week, I watched one of the Herd's videos, and it was he revisited his predictions.
Yep.
And I saw 9-7 for the Bears, and I went, what?
Right now the win total in Vegas is 9.5. SI had them at 7 and 9. So
because I
people
just
are expecting regression.
Our schedule is also uncomfortable.
It's a harder schedule. It's a playoff schedule.
It's a much harder schedule to end the year.
Awful though.
To end the year, I think our last 6 games.
If Mitch comes out and has the game that you described, I think I will put my money on this. If Mitch has that game, radio on Monday, shows on Monday, guys that bashed Mitch nationally will be praising him.
He'll be in the Jared
It'll
Goff
be a
club.
complete 180, exactly.
The cool thing is it would be on Friday, since they play on Thursday.
Friday, that's right.
So,
it's a Thursday game.
So it would be all Mitch. It'll be Mitch City. They'll be kissing titties on Friday.
Coming into the weekend.
I mean, even then, to go back to that Bears game, I forgot what Mitch did, and he was 20 of 28, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns in that Packers game.
Clean.
It was
No
clean.
INTs?
It was clean. But it wasn't, again, great.
Yeah.
And that's why, I totally forgot that he had a clean game.
Exactly.
I think if he looks great, I think he can, solidify it. But if he has another game like that if he has another game like that where he is a game manager, or he's not really opening it up, or he's not really
unleashing the dragon,
being super accurate down the field, or having consistent mechanics, like I just want to see a game where he just goes out there and just
he'll get like a
puts
Holmes-esque performance
down someone's throat
and just fucking bomb it. just all night, just go for it. And
No, I don't want that.
Can we put up 40?
I would love to see if we put up 40, I'll die, but we're not going to.
That's my thought.
Because I think just as much as I'm saying he could solidify his spot as the Bears quarterback, he could have a game that kicks him out of town so easily. So I don't know.
They're fickle.
This game, I think it comes down to, and we'll give our biggest key to the game. So just give me one key, Ricky. Give me one key. But I think the biggest key for the Bears in this game coming up on Thursday against the Packers, biggest key for them is just being consistent offensively, mainly on Mitch. That is what this needs. It's not about the kicking. It's not about the defense. It's not about the nickel. It is about Mitch. If Mitch goes out there and is consistent with his mechanics and is able to extend drives with his arm, I will be a happy Bears fan.
So before I give my key, I got a fun stat for you because you asked about it.
Yeah.
In the last 3 seasons in college, David Montgomery fumbles. He had one in 2016, game 1 of the season. 2017, won the whole year, the bowl game against Memphis. Very last game, he fumbled. They lost it. And then last year, 1 fumble. Guess what game it was?
First game.
The bowl game. He fumbled in the bowl game. They lost
So
it.
the biggest possible moment, he's going to show.
Go Bears.
So he's had 1 fumble each year.
But hey, I think that's pretty good. For how many carries did he have? Like 200?
He had
Something like that.
109, 258, and then 257.
So 250 carries, 1 fumble. I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'm not upset at
And
that.
he's a 1,000-yard rusher the last 2 years in college. I'm
Yeah.
going to say win the turnover battle. And the side I'm looking at more so in that is the defense because the games last year. Well, the games
You gotta
last.
force turnovers with the turnover.
No. I mean, you gotta force turnovers, but like
you gotta score more points to win.
I say,
Thanks, John
I
Madden.
look at that side because Mitch didn't throw any interceptions.
Yeah, for sure.
In last year's games, but the
Rodgers
Bears
did.
still lost one.
Yeah.
Rodgers threw 1, and it was in the loss, but
Yeah.
it's like in the win, he didn't throw any. So if the
Yeah.
Bears can force turnovers, even if they're fumbles, I know I harp on interceptions because it's a passing league, but if you can force Aaron to make mistakes and Mitch doesn't, you'll win the game.
In the loss, we did force turnovers. Khalil Mack had that touchdown return. I think the biggest thing again was we were just out of gas in that last half.
The
of the
first
game.
half, we looked like monsters.
Yeah,
It was incredible.
What's your big key to the game, Dave?
Key to the
Before we go to
game,
predictions.
Dave Montgomery. Hold the ball. Hold the ball. Eat
So
all the
now you're
minutes.
thinking he's gonna fumble.
No, we need time of possession. We need like 35 minutes. We need to chunk away at this game because Aaron Rodgers with 2 minutes scares the shit out of me.
I think just
have
Aaron
nightmares.
Rodgers in general scares the shit out of me.
It's the you look at the clock and they're like, oh no, are they scoring too quickly? No, they gave Aaron Rodgers the ball back. There's still too much time, and they feel like 45
There's
seconds.
30 seconds.
Still too much time. Should more clock. It's just as a Bears fan, that feeling will never go away. So my answer is time of possession. Use the run game. If you have to slow down the pace of game to beat them because it's turned into a slog, go for it. Don't be afraid to just keep running the ball and eat clock.
All right, right now we are doing predictions. Right now, as of August 30th at 5:12 p.m., the line is at Bears -3. Money line for the Bears to win is -165. Money line for the Packers is 140 plus 145. Over under is 46 points. Ricky, I know you're not too much in the spread, so at least give me a winner here.
I am going to actually try to do it with the spread. The reason why is on the PTP.
Well, you can just give a score, and that kind of tells you who you want.
I'm going to say 24-21 Bears.
Okay.
So I'm going to go kind of with the line. Bears -3.
All right. Bears getting 3 points. All right. And then so that means you're also going to take the under.
Yes, 24-21.
All right, 45 points. Dave, who you taking?
I'm going Bears 35, Packers
Jesus
28.
Christ.
I want offense.
They played the games last year.
Everything
the
is
team
low
put
scoring.
24
17-20,
points.
24-20. I don't
24-17, 24-23.
I want offense.
All right. So Dave is saying take the over and take the Bears. I would say
First week of the year, man.
yeah. I would shocker. I would say take the Bears with the spread. I think they win by 4. I will take them to win 24-20. So I would say take the under and take the spread like Ricky. But then I would probably hedge it and say take the Packers to win. Because I don't like losing money. So take the spread, take the Bears, and take the under, and then take the Packers to win, and then just hedge your bets there.
I got a question for Dave on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Who's your kicker in fantasy?
No.
Who is it?
I refuse to answer.
Is it Graham Gano?
I refuse to answer.
Is it Graham Gano?
Well, he was already injured, so it
was
wasn't
he?
anything like he got injured.
Because he's on the IR. He's out for the season.
No, he's not.
He's not on the IR.
Just now.
Is he out for
Shefty.
the season though?
That's what it says.
Oh, really?
Injured, ending his 2019 season.
Wow, that sucks.
So Graham
They
Gano
have
gone.
Don't you know?
Pick up their
Dave's
kicker
like, I gotta
Sly.
look.
Sly kicked against the Bears in the first preseason game. He was money, so I think he should be fine. Anyways, that's gonna do it there. Let us know if you think the Bears are gonna win. We all think we do. Obviously, because Ricky hates the Packers, I hate the Packers, Dave hates the Packers, and Dave and I love the Bears. So you're getting a very homer take here, but hopefully we're able to represent the Packers.
That's why you're here.
At least factually. We might not have been nice to the
I
Packers.
mean, Ricky
but as
doesn't even
long
know
as
the
we're-
running back's name. Like, right off the bat.
Adam Jones, Aaron Jones. I fuck it up
and
every
hey,
You
time.
stuck through that.
I was wrong that he was healthy in the second game.
Yeah.
But at least we corrected it.
Yeah.
So I think we found our two errors. So at least we factually represented the Packers. And yes, it was totally biased. But again, give us your predictions down in the comments below.